Yay, here we all go. See, we've got Dan Lake, see, we've got Dale. So we've got Pat, we've got David, we've got Liz, we've got Stella, Franco out in the US, Jeff Fairfield. Let me see, I've got to admit some other people. I can't make Sally co-host tonight for some reason because of the whatever Zoom's doing, so I've got to do it all myself. Linda Weatherly, Lisa's just coming in. Got Carmel, Andrea, we've got Adrian Montano out in Romania. Hi. Jerry. We've got Phil up in the Isle of Skye. I've got somebody else in. I've got to do all this. Let me see if I can. Claire Miller is on the way in. Mary Lee is on the way in. And no, I can't make Sally the co-host, but there we go. Quantum Walking is here. Right, so you have to excuse me because I'm going to have to manage the people coming in and out of the room this evening, as well as speak. But you know what the hell? I'm used to doing that kind of stuff. What a week here in the UK, and also in Scotland, Phil, with the passing away of Queen Elizabeth II. What a response. You know, and one thing I've been hearing a lot of is I was never really a fan. I was never really, you know, of the Queen, or, you know, not that they were haters of the Queen, but they were just like, she's just the Queen. And then when she passed away, they got really sad, really upset. I did too, I've got to admit. And so what's the explanation for that? The explanation, I experienced the same thing when Princess Diana died. I was actually quite a big fan of Princess Diana. I thought we might have got together at some point in time. But she, you know, she died before we did. And when I heard the news, I was really upset about it, but I was a fan anyway. So I thought, like, okay, well, that's okay. But lots of people were saying, I was never really a fan of Princess Diana, but now I'm finding myself really sad. What's going on? Well, what's going on is archetypes. So, you know, Princess Diana was the archetypal princess, which we all have inside of us, both male and female. And then obviously she died. And so the archetypal princess inside of everybody died. That's what people were feeling sad about and feeling mournful about. And we've had another experience of it again this week with the archetypal queen, matriarch archetype inside of everybody. So whether you're a fan of the Queen or not, when you hear that she's passed away or passed over, then you're going to feel a grief or a loss inside of you, which might, for many people, be unexplainable. You're like, why am I grieving? Why am I feeling sad? Because the Queen's passed over. But it's what she represents as an archetype. This is why the world, if you like, certainly the UK, has gone crazy this week with the passing away of the Queen. So I just want to kick off with that, and then Think and Grow Rich, which is obviously what we're here for. Think and Grow Rich 11. This is the 11th week in, guys. This is pretty amazing. And the subconscious mind is the chapter that we're doing. And I haven't read this book. I read this book originally before I learned about Huna. And then, I read it again to put together a session for you. This chapter, Subconscious Mind, is 100% Huna. I couldn't believe how Huna it was. Even to the definition of the three minds, which are put up here, and the connections and the workings of the three minds, and then the way to actually use the three minds to create what you want. What Napoleon Hill describes is totally the heart right, or the heart prayer in Huna, which I'm gonna share with you this evening. So when Napoleon Hill talks about infinite intelligence, we've talked about this in previous sessions, he's talking about the higher self. Obviously, he calls the unconscious mind the subconscious mind. For me, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind are the same thing. I prefer to call it the unconscious mind because subconscious mind makes it sound like it's inferior in some way, shape, or form, as far as I'm concerned. So the unconscious mind, and also that's the term that Milton Erickson all the time, was the unconscious mind, and I rate Milton Erickson, so I'm going to adhere to his terms. And then we've got our conscious mind: logic, rationality, and sensibility. So I'm going to take you through the Huna heart right, which is basically what Napoleon Hill is talking about in this particular chapter. Then talk about some other stuff that he alludes to. So the heart right in Huna is that we use our conscious mind's imagination to create an image, an impression, a goal. And then we charge that. Now, Napoleon Hill talks about charging that with emotion. We'll talk about that, both positive and negative emotion. Though the ancient Hawaiians would charge it with mana, which they would create through doing heart breathing, which I know all of you are aware of that. So we create this internal representation from an NLP point of view. In the conscious mind, we then charge it with mana. Now, the difference is with mana, it is energy, but it's emotionless. It's just energy. And we give the unconscious mind the creation that we've created with our conscious mind. We give it to our unconscious mind, with the manner that we've created. And then we ask our unconscious mind to give that to the higher self with the manner, with the energy to create it on the physical plane. That's the Ha prayer or the Ha right. So, more recently, I say more recently, over the last couple of 100 years, we've got the idea that prayer is about worship of God. But that's not the original purpose of prayer. The original purpose of prayer was to manifest what you wanted on the physical plane. And this is the process that everybody around the world used, not only the Hawaiians, everybody around the world used. Create an image of what you want, charge it with mana, give it to your unconscious mind, then ask your unconscious mind to pass it to your higher self to make it manifest on the physical plane. That's the Ha prayer, the Ha right. That's the original intention, the original meaning of prayer. Now, here's the thing with this, and this is what Napoleon Hill talks about, because he talks about charging an internal representation from the conscious mind via emotion. He talks about passion. He talks about love. He talks about sex again as an emotion. And we talked about that last week as to my take on that particular thing. And then he talks about negative emotions, hatred, jealousy, etc. So here's the thing we've got to get with this, is that our unconscious mind takes everything that we think and everything that we say about everything and everybody as a suggestion upon which it acts. So our unconscious mind takes everything that we think about everything and everybody as a suggestion personally upon which it acts. So what does that mean in practice? And this is what Napoleon Hill's alluding to here, is that, when I had a training center in Chiswick and I went out for Sunday lunch, I would see the same thing play out every single Sunday. I'd be there having lunch, and I would hear it first because it was a bright yellow Lamborghini Gallardo, not the Spider, hardtop. Would pull up and park outside the restaurant that I was having Sunday lunch in. And what would happen is that people would gather around the car, go like, "Oh, what a wonderful car! What a fantastic car! Whatever." And then the scissor doors would open, and the driver would get out, and he wasn't a day over 20. Instantly, state change. Now we've got like hatred, we've got jealousy, we've got anger, whatever it may be. People going like, "Oh, bastard." Must be either born rich or a drug dealer. And, may I suggest that if you weren't born rich, it's too late. And if your values don't allow you to be a drug dealer, then that's not an option either. But your unconscious mind is tapping into all of that. It takes it all as a suggestion. So don't bother setting yourself a goal of having a bright yellow Lamborghini Gallardo, because your unconscious mind goes, "Well, you weren't born rich. You're not a drug dealer. And also, we don't want people thinking about you as being a bastard or a bitch or whatever it may be. So we are actually casting prayers, as in Napoleon Hill's language, Pule in Hawaiian language, which are spells. We're casting spells all the time. And we cast them and we energize them with the energy that comes from emotion, whether it be positive emotion or negative emotion. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, the energy that goes behind negative emotion is significantly more intense than the energy that goes behind positive emotion. So what they're doing with the negative emotions, and whether it be hate, whether it be jealousy, whether it be anger or whatever it may be, they're putting energy behind what they're thinking about at that point in time, and your unconscious mind is just going to pass that to your higher self. Here's the thing you've got to realize about your higher self. Your higher self will actually create for you whatever you ask for, whether it be positive, whether it be negative, because at the level of higher self, it's like all perfect. So that's my take on that particular chapter. Is it's all this. It's the what Napoleon Hill calls prayer. It's what in Huna we call Pule, which is like prayer, but more correctly, a spell. And, in modern days, prayer has become worship of God, whatever it may be. But really, in the original meaning of prayer, the original intention of prayer was manifestation technique. It was goal setting. It was to create what it was that you wanted on the physical plane. So a very simple chapter, a very short chapter, but a very pivotal chapter when you think about what we can create with positive emotions, but then also what we create with negative emotions. I'm managing the room this evening, so I can't see the chat.
I can do the questions.
Okay. Brilliant. So who's the first question from?
We don't have any yet.
Oh, we don't have any yet. Oh, that's good.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, Lisa, can you ask your question, please?
I can't see where Lisa is.
Hello, David.
Oh, Lisa, I can see it. Yeah.
I get all of that, and that makes a lot of sense. But I think to balance it out, can you explain greed? When people are greedy at the expense of other people. I mean, we need to balance out this thing about it's good to make money, yes, if you're doing it the right way. But I feel that when people take advantage and do it from a greedy point of view, can you please explain that and how it works on the mind?
Sure. You got this model of like lose, lose, win, lose, lose, win, win, win.
Yeah.
I think there's only two: lose, lose, and win-win.
Yeah.
And if you create a win-lose scenario, well, Phileas Parkhurst Quimby said, whatever you earn, whatever you rightfully earn can't be withheld.
Yeah.
Whatever you unrightly earn, you'll pay for.
Yeah. I agree.
So, I think that's the way the universe works. So, if you are getting paid whatever amount of money, large amount of money, and you're creating value,
Yeah. Absolutely.
then that's fine. If you're creating huge amounts of money at the cost of other people,
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form, you'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily monetarily,
Yeah.
and you'll pay for it. I think the other thing around this is that this process that we're talking here is taking place 24/7.
Yeah.
So 24/7, your unconscious mind, or Napoleon Hill would call the subconscious mind, is eavesdropping on everything you think and everything you say about everything and everybody, and it takes it as an instruction. It takes it personally.
Right.
So, a little bit. It's aligned with your question, I believe, in my perspective, in that. So, what's the solution to that?
Yeah.
Think everybody and everything up.
Right.
So rather than being jealous or whatever of the young guy with the Lamborghini Gallardo, just go like, brilliant, good for you. And if he can have one of those at 20 years old, how much easier would it be for me to have one at 59-year-old?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. So, yeah.
If that's what you want.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants one of those, but
No,
but
I
it's
get your
about
point. Yeah.
being aware of what we're thinking
Yeah.
24/7. And obviously there's a lot going on in the world at this point in time, and people might be going like, such and such a person is bad, that's not right, whatever. Your unconscious mind takes all of that as a suggestion upon which it acts. So particularly over this weekend, with lots of things happening with our royal family and all of that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
just be aware and be careful about your emotions and what you're thinking, because your unconscious mind is eavesdropping on all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yep.
Yep.
Is that answer your question, Lisa?
Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you. Thank you.
Dave, a couple of people have mentioned at the beginning, you said you were going to take through a HUNA process to do with the heart.
No, not to do with the heart, as far as the HUNA process for creating goals.
Okay, and you've done that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go, Phil and Dale. Okay, so the next question then is from Lindsay.
Hello, guys. I'll put my
Yes.
video on, see if you can see me.
I
Hi.
can see you, Lindsay. Hi, how are you?
I'm really good, thanks. You?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good. My question's really relationship between sort of the unconscious mind, the higher self, and time. So if we are willing something to happen, how does the unconscious mind, higher self, determine when that's going to manifest or happen?
Yeah, good question. So you need to tell it.
Yes, of course, yeah. And are you now coming back to specifics? Yes.
Time and smart and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because your unconscious mind is always in now. So your unconscious mind lives in the world of mañana.
Yep.
Why do today what we can do tomorrow? Your higher self, everything's perfect, so it doesn't really care when you create it, or even if you don't. Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
So this is when, with our conscious mind, we've got to be very careful to define exactly what it is we want and when. Then pass it to our unconscious mind with mana, which we, and from a Huda perspective, we build the mana from heart breathing, which we've taught before. What Napoleon Hill is talking about, we would create the mana through emotion. And obviously he's saying that what we want to do is we want to create it with positive emotion and banish negative emotion, but both create energy. And then pass that to our higher self in a way where we actually say to our higher self, right, make this become physically manifest.
Right.
It's not something that we need to learn to do, because we're doing it all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing that most people do is they do that without any real conscious volition. So they're creating what they're experiencing in their world in a bit of a random fashion by what they're thinking about and what they're charging with emotion.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
At the moment, one thing we've got to be aware of is there is a proliferation of negative emotions and people creating negative internal representations, as in negative emotions around what they don't want. And then your higher self will create that for you, because that's a pule, that's a prayer.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, David.
Flip side, think about what you want, create positive energy and feel positive emotions around it.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, that's your question.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you for asking the question.
And Liz Oliver, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah, thanks. I'm not sure if I missed this, but at the beginning, David, you said that once you created the image of your goal and you used heart breathing to give it some energy, and it goes to the unconscious, and then you pass it to the higher self. So what's the most effective communication between the unconscious mind and the higher self? What would be the mechanics of that?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question, Liz. So in our HUNA intro, in our HUNA intensives, we take people through an experience of connecting with their higher self. So they have a conscious experience of connecting with their higher self. Though really everybody's connected with their higher self. You can't be disconnected from it. So if you're going to do this as a conscious process, you would create an internal representation of exactly what it is you wanted to create. You would build up a surcharge of mana through heart breathing. If you want to put in some positive emotions in there as well, even better. Then you pass that to your unconscious mind, and then instruct your unconscious mind to give the internal representation and the mana, whether it be built by heart breathing, which would be non-emotional, or through positive emotions like excitement, like passion, like, and also, as Napoleon Hill says, sexual emotion, which we talked about last week, and give that to the higher self to actually create that, bring it into physical manifestation. That is really what's going on in the creating a future process in timeline therapy, where we float above our timeline. When you float above your timeline, you activate in your neurology the energy or the archetype of your higher self, because you are above all of your past and all of your future, the creator of your life, if you like. And then we've got this internal representation, and in timeline therapy, creating future process, we energize that internal representation with 4 Ha breaths. That's the Huna equivalent of the Ha prayer. That normally we do more than 4, and then you put it into your future timeline, and then you watch everything between then and now realign and rearrange itself, and then looking out to your entire future. Tad created the creating your future process based on the Hawaiian Huna Ha prayer or Ha rite. It's just, we don't say that on our NLP or timeline therapy practitioner training because it might freak some people out. But that's essentially what we're doing.
Okay, so that's really what's in that little book that, you know, that you wrote about 20 years ago. This is it, The Secret of Creating a Future or something, about the
Yes.
wizard.
Yes, absolutely.
Need to reread it, I
got
guess.
Yeah, I've got it here somewhere.
Yeah.
Look after it,
Well,
because they're rare and they're very, very expensive these days.
okay.
And a great book. It was the first book I read that introduced me to my dear Tad James.
Perfect. I have everything I need then.
Certainly do. Other questions?
And Roger, can you ask your question, please?
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Roger.
Jolly good.
Loud.
Yeah, I was just fascinated. I use the win-win, lose-lose quadrant a lot in business. So when you say you believe there's only 2, by my reckoning, that means you sort of leave out win-lose and lose-win. Do you mind just explaining why?
Sure. So if you and I, Roger, had a interaction around business or whatever it may, or not even business, just personal, and you perceived that you'd lost and I'd won, you're not going to let that happen again. If we'd had an interaction where I perceived I'd won and you'd, that I'd lost and you'd won, we're not going to have an interaction again. So in the long term, then that's a lose-lose. Yeah. In the long term, there's only win-win. And, you know, I had a personal experience of this. We were, the Performance Partnership, we were going to promote a particular business trainer, speaker, who's great. I mean, really, really great. And I had an interaction with his manager, for want of a better word. And she said to me, you do realize that if you don't get 25 people on this training, we're not going to show up. I said, sure, that's fine. How many people you got booked on at the moment? I told her, and she said, well, and it was not 25, but you know, one of the things I've got through experience is a lot of people book at the last minute, a bit perceiverish, you know. And she said to me, so you need to realize that if you've got 24 people booked on this training, we're not going to come. And I went, that's fine, we'll get 25 people. So then she said, so you can either disappoint and let down 10 people today, or disappoint and let down 24 people the day before the training. And so I'm in a bind now, right? You know, where am I going to go with that? So I said, okay, I totally understand what you've done, and I know you know what you've done. You've put me in a bind. So we're cancelling the training. So we've both lost. And by the way, I will never do business with you ever again. So we both lost. So that, you know, that's a, you know, and she thought she was being smart and all that kind of stuff. When I actually spoke to the guy who's a speaker, who's a friend of mine, he was horrified that that's what had happened. We haven't done business since, though we're still friends. Because, you know, it's not the way that I don't think he wants to do business. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, if we take time out of the equation, a short-term win is a long-term loss. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Roger?
Perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I came to the same conclusion, but by a rather different direction. So it's absolutely fascinating to hear that. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay. Cheers,
Brilliant.
Roger.
Okay. Linda, do you want to ask David your question?
Linda on the sofa.
I'm always on the sofa because it's comfortable down here. Yes, I just put a little note there. I just remembered you said it was the Huna prayer you were going to go over with us. So what I asked was, have we already kind of done that, or is it? That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, I've gone through the Huna prayer or the Ha Right twice now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just sort of checking in there if there's another bit.
It's no, it is very, very simple.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think some people might go like, is that it? And that is it. And we are doing it all day.
Yeah.
The thing is, you know, so because we're doing it all day, it's not something we need to learn how to do. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But then are we doing it in a way that's enabled us to create what we want or create what we don't want?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, particularly with what's going on at the moment, both in the UK and, you know, the world in general, then people are doing the Ha prayer, the Ha Right, using the energy of negative emotions,
Yeah.
to create what they don't want.
Yes. Mm.
And then they get to pat themselves on the back for, I told you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you flip it over, positive emotions, what you do want,
Yes.
told you.
Got it.
Yep. Does that answer your question, Linda?
It does. I've got another piece which
Coleman?
won't go out in my head, so I have to ask you it. I attract in, and it's the funeral thing that's really brought it up to the surface.
Yeah.
I used to, how do I put this? I used to go out with Prince Charles's good friend and Camilla's good friend. And my issue is usually, I attract in all the things I do, the positive things you know, the great people I've had in my life. And he died last year. But there is a point where I just go, and I think it's not good enough, where I just go, right, that's it. I walk away. And I promise myself, because it's what my mum did, class consciousness for her. I don't have quite that, but maybe I do. It's that stopping that bit that gets in the way at the end for me. And it's me that does the walking away.
From the person,
Yes. So I attract it in
right?
all the great things, but like some of my projects, and then something in my unconscious mind might be saying not good enough or can't cope or whatever it is, and I walk away. Slightest thing, and then
Right.
I'm out of there.
Right. So that would be a example of a limiting
Yeah.
belief,
Yes.
as in I'm not good enough for this.
I'm guessing it's I'm not good enough, but I mean I've processed this quite a few times, as you'll remember.
It could equally be a negative emotion, as in
Yep.
just having exactly what you want scare the shit out of
Yes. Yes, that might be it. That's gone click.
you. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So, well, you know how to let the fear go.
Yep.
So just be okay with, you know, what was the saying that used to go around? It's you know, there's that saying about it's better to have loved and lost
And lost than never have
not
loved at all.
but I think some people have it the other way around, as
Ah,
in it's better to not have loved and lost.
Yeah.
Because if you never have love, you'll never experience the emotion of loss.
yes. Do you know it's
think
really weird? Because that's my epitaph.
Right.
And I've been saying it for a long time. That will be my epitaph.
Well, you might want to change that.
Yes, I'd rather they stop dying. So
You murderer, Linda.
I know.
But it's okay.
Yeah,
You'll
I,
never, you'll
I
never,
get it.
you'll never get caught for murdering people that way.
Oh, good. Thank you. Has answered another life question for me.
There we go. Any other questions?
Nothing in the chat, so I think we may be having an early night tonight.
Yeah, it's a short yet profound chapter. What are we going to do next week? Let me have a look. Oh, next week is the sixth sense,
Good.
the door to the temple of wisdom.
Right.
I think the subconscious mind, because a lot of you have been trained in NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, it's kind of like, okay, I knew that. I gave you a little bit of a Huna perspective on it, which makes it even simpler. And the the Ha prayer and the Ha right is literally that simple. And in summing up, it's something that we're doing all day. So then you got to go at it. So, Napoleon Hill talks about this chapter. It's around eradicating the negative emotions, which we know how to do, timeline therapy, Huna. And then charging things with positive emotions, which we know how to do. But I think the thing that Napoleon Hill had missing there was that whenever you think down on somebody, your unconscious mind takes it as a suggestion about you. And I was just talking about this over the trainings we've been doing over the last couple of days. A guy, I mean, if you get an opportunity to go and see him speak, because he's a great speaker, Brad Sugars, runs Action Coach. And he tells a story. He's from Brisbane originally, and he was driving a bright yellow Lamborghini Gallardo Spider, and he pulled up at the traffic lights for somebody to, sorry, not traffic lights, the zebra crossing, because they have zebra crossings in Australia just like we do here in the UK, to let a guy go across, and the guy goes across and spat on the bonnet of his car and called him a bastard. A week later, Brad Sugars was on a holiday in Las Vegas, and he hired a bright yellow Lamborghini Gallardo Spider, and he pulled up at the traffic lights. Somebody walked across, and this person said, "Nice car, fantastic, love it, well done, mate. Good on you." Which then Brad Sugars says, and that's the reason why I live in Las Vegas rather than in Brisbane.
Got it.
And, here in the UK, we do tend to not like people who have visual success. And that people who don't like, a friend of mine, Greg Secker, I was doing a Date with Excellence seminar with him, which is my NLP modeling thing. And Greg's very, very successful. Greg's, made a lot of money. And I was listing his values and his beliefs. And one of Greg's beliefs is 95% of life's problems can be solved by writing a check. The place erupted. I've got people standing up going like, what about love? What about gratitude? What about, whatever? Greg's looking there completely confused. I'm going, these are all people who are at least NLP practitioners. So I'm standing up and going like, where did respecting somebody else's model of the world disappear suddenly? So I in my usual polite way, I told him to shut the fuck up. But Greg nailed it. He said, I thought that you came along here to learn how to make more money and become wealthy. How many people here came here to learn how to make more money and become wealthy? And everybody put their hands up. And he said, well, may I give you your first suggestion? Stop hating rich people. I went like, whoa. You nailed it, bro. But that's exactly what Napoleon Hill's talking about. If you hate rich people, you're never going to become rich. And it goes back to perception is projection, right? Which we did in the previous masterclass. But that's totally what I think. And that goes on. You can sit down and you can do a formal Ha prayer, Ha right, etc., etc., etc. And you got to realize you're doing it all day, every day. So you can sit down and do your Ha prayer and Ha right for half an hour or whatever it may be, around feeling wonderful about what you want to create. But then if you're spending the next waking hours feeling bad about other people who've achieved goals that you haven't, you've just undone everything you've done in that half an hour. Whereas, I can remember being I was doing it again in Chiswick. I was doing a training. Sally wasn't running the room. It was a mate of mine, Peter Strachan, was running the room. I just started to learn to trade. And it's just when the Audi R8 was released. So this Audi R8 parks outside the front of the restaurant, and Peter goes, it'll be interesting to see who gets out of this car, to see if it's like your story that you tell about the Lamborghini Gallardo. And it was true. The guy who got out of the car probably wasn't even 20. He's wearing a t-shirt that I don't think ever in its life had ever seen an iron. I don't think he'd ever seen a hairdresser in his life. He looked a complete mess. And I said to Peter, I wonder what he does for a living. And Peter goes, I think, David, that he's learnt to trade just like you have. I thought that's the way to think about it. Yeah. I said, thanks for the suggestion, Peter. Good one. But, you know, this thing isn't just when you go, okay, I'm going to set a goal. It's happening all the time. All the time. That's the thing that people need to get. All the time. Everything that you think and everything you say about everything and everybody, your unconscious mind takes a suggestion upon which it acts. No pressure. Did that bring up any other questions, Sally? Or
Yeah, there is a little question there from Stella.
Stella, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I think it was just somebody answered it in the chat. I was thinking right as in right and left, as opposed to right as in RITE.
RITE, yes.
So now that I've got that, makes perfect sense. Thank you.
So yeah, that's fairly old English, I think, as in so, and that's actually the words that Max Freedom Long used when he described the Ha right, or what then he then kind of said was the Ha prayer, but he actually used those words right, RITE, as in a prayer, or what we would know as a pule, or a spell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're casting spells all the time. Yeah. All day, every day, we're casting spells. Any other questions?
Yeah, you have another question from Carol Evans.
Carol, oh, Carol, I can see you there.
Hi there. I think the answer to this is yes, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And I'm assuming that it's the same process if you're watching television. That's a suggestion as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You assumed right. So that's right, as in RIGHT. You assumed right. And you know, I was talking to a group this weekend when I was doing a training that in the US there is actually a psychiatric condition called soap opera syndrome. In the US, people have been able to watch soap operas 24/7, longer than anywhere else in the world. And those people's unconscious mind goes, oh, I got it all wrong. This is what life's supposed to be about. I'm meant to get burgled. The house is going to burn down. I'm going to have a car crash, and one of my family members is going to be mugged in a day. And that's what they create. So because everything comes in as a suggestion. So this is something I talked about, I think, previously. Is so I'm saying don't watch TV. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. though at certain points in time, you might want to lock up your unconscious mind. So the way of how do you lock up your unconscious mind from suggestion is to say to your unconscious mind, well, one, find out the name of your unconscious mind. If your unconscious mind doesn't know, then give it a name. Max Freedom Long said he gave his unconscious mind the name George. And then said, only respond to suggestions when you're addressed by your name, George. Which then means that, you know, anything that comes in from the TV or from anybody else, if your unconscious mind isn't addressed by its name, it will ignore it. Is that kind of like
best to give your unconscious mind an unusual name, and definitely not something like Alexa.
Alexa, yes, or Siri. But you know, the best way would be to ask your unconscious mind, "Hey, what's your name?" And they'll tell you. And you might get a bit of a surprise when your unconscious mind tells you what its name is, because it might not be male, it might not be female. You know, it might not be a name you've even heard of before. Doesn't matter. Then you can address your unconscious mind by name. Does that answer your question, Carol?
It does, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for the question.
So that is it on the question front.
Great. Brilliant stuff. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to get this. Thanks, Adrian. I'm going to get this edited and get it uploaded tomorrow. So you guys will be able to see it. People who aren't here will be able to see it. I know that with what's going on, particularly in the UK at this point in time, people are like overwhelmed and whatever. So I'm not surprised that we didn't have quite so many people actually online as we normally do. But thank you guys for joining us. And by the way, you know, I don't know if you've seen the feedback in the group, but the people that can't join us live online really appreciate you guys that do join us online, and they appreciate the questions that you ask. Because, you know, some people at this point in time, it's like we're not even at 8 o'clock in the morning for some people, or it might be midnight. For other people, they're already asleep in bed, and they watch the replays. And you know, the feedback I'm getting is that they really appreciate you guys that join us live and ask questions and interact and all that kind of stuff, because it brings it to life for them. So you know, I appreciate you doing that, and obviously all the other viewers. I get to see how many views we get on the replays. And each of these sessions gets around about 500 or 600 plays. That's how many people watch these things. So even though there's only like, you know, I don't know how many people are on tonight, but the people who watch the replays really appreciate you guys that join me live and ask questions, and your questions are great. And you know, your questions actually challenge me, because you ask me questions that I hadn't thought about, which is why I love questions. So let's keep this going in these challenging times, and you know, make the world a better place, one person, one day at a time. Thanks, guys. See you. Love you lots.
Thank you.